Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayanti Nashtakrayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 1, the Supreme Lord is equal to everyone. Text number 28-29. So Narad Muni is further speaking to Maharaj Yudhishthira. Kitapeshya skrita ruddha kudyayam tamanusmaran sarambha bhaya yogena vindate tat swarupatam. Evam Krishne Bhagavati Maya Manoj Ishvare Vairena Put Papmanas Tamapur Anuchintaya. A grass worm confined in a hole of a wall by a bee always thinks of the bee in fear and enmity, and later becomes a bee simply because of such remembrance. Similarly, if the conditioned souls somehow or other think of Krishna, who is Sachidananda Vigraha, they will become free from their sins, whether thinking of him as a worshipable Lord or an enemy. Because of constantly thinking of him, they will regain their spiritual bodies. So, a grass worm confined in the hole of a wall by a bee. So sometimes it happens, a bee, like a bumblebee or something, it picks up a grass worm and takes it, put it in a hole and to kill him and eat him. And there is no escape for the grass worm. He cannot run away. So he leaves the body and looking at the bee, and the bee is stinging him, and he leaves the body thinking of the bee. And what happens? Next body he gets off a bee because he's thinking of that. So similarly, the conditioned souls somehow or other think of Krishna, whether in fear or anger or envy or in loving service, they get the spiritual body. But of course, we don't want to think of Krishna in some wrong way, unfavorable mode. So Prabhupada says, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me. And thus they all attained transcendental love for me. There are two ways of constantly thinking of Krishna, as a devotee and as an enemy. A devotee, of course, by his knowledge and tapasya becomes free from fear and anger and becomes a pure devotee. Similarly, an enemy, although thinking of Krishna inimically, thinks of him constantly and also becomes purified. This is a beauty of thinking about Krishna. Even an enemy thinks, he becomes purified. Because the subject matter is Krishna. This is confirmed elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says, Api che sudurachara. Even if one commits the most abominable actions, if he engages in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated. A devotee undoubtedly worships the Lord with rapt attention. Similarly, if an enemy, Sudurachara, always thinks of Krishna, he also becomes a purified devotee. The example given here concerns the grass worm that becomes bee-like because of constantly thinking of the bee that forces it to enter a hole. By always thinking of bee in fear, the grass worm starts to become a bee. This is a practical example, and actually it happens. It happens by nature's arrangement, it happens. Lord Krishna appears within this material world for two purposes. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chatushrita. So to protect the devotees and to annihilate the demons. The sadhus and devotees certainly think of the Lord always, but Dushkritis, the demons like Kansa and Shishupal, also think of Krishna in terms of killing him. By thinking of Krishna, both the demons and devotees attain liberation from the clutches of material Maya. But as we discussed the other day, that the destination for devotees is certainly different in the spiritual world than the destination of the demons. The demons who get killed by Krishna, they get Sayujya Mukti, means they merge in the body of Krishna. And this merging in the body of Krishna is not the same as merging in Brahmjyoti, because from Brahmjyoti, the yogis or the jnanis who come to Brahmjyoti level, they fall down from that position, fall back into the material world, and then by mercy of devotee, they can come in contact with devotion service, and they can practice, and they can go back to the spiritual world. But the Sayujya Mukti that the demons get, they also get Sayujya, but they merge in the body of Krishna. Means no more taking birth again. That's it. The soul just remains in the body of Krishna. So that kind of mukti is not very good. Yes, he is liberated from the material world, but he cannot perform any devotional service. Like Prabhupada gave the example someplace that it's like a baby is born from the womb of the mother, but he's put back into the womb of the mother, and he's always just giving pain to the mother. He's not serving the mother. This verse uses the word Maya Manuje. When Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears in his original spiritual potency, Sambhavami Atma Maya, he is not forced to accept a form made by material nature. Therefore, the Lord is addressed as Ishvara, the controller of Maya. He is not controlled by Maya. When a demon continuously thinks of Krishna because of enmity towards him, he is certainly freed from the sinful reactions of his life. To think of Krishna in any way, in terms of his name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, or anything pertaining to him, is beneficial for everyone. Shanvatam Sakatha Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana. Thinking of Krishna, hearing the holy names of Krishna, or hearing the pastimes of Krishna will make one pure, and then he will become a devotee. Our Krishna consciousness movement is therefore trying to introduce a system of somehow or other letting everyone hear the holy name of Krishna and take Krishna's prasad. Thus one will gradually become a devotee and his life will be successful. So somehow or other, Prabhupada said this idea of this movement is somehow the letting everyone hear the holy name of Krishna. So that is why devotees take out this Sankirtan pastime or Sankirtan parties where they just chant the holy names of Krishna and let people hear it. That's all. One who hears it is like they say, it's the beginning of the end. Beginning of end of the material world or material suffering, material births. So this is what pleases Krishna a lot, that at least these devotees are going out and giving a chance to the conditioned souls to hear the holy name. And how we can hear, in what mood? Kama dveshat bhayat snehat yatha bhakteshvare manaha aveshya tadagam vidhitva bhavastad gatim gataha. Many persons have attained liberation simply by thinking of Krishna with great attention and giving up sinful activities. This great attention may be due to lusty desires, inimical feelings, fear, affection, or devotional service. I shall now explain how one receives Krishna's mercy simply by concentrating one's mind upon him. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Vikriditam Rajavadubhiritam cha Vishnu. If a bona fide listener hears of Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, which seem to be lusty affairs, the lusty desires in his heart, which constitute the heart disease of the conditioned soul, will be vanquished, and he will become a most exalted devotee of the Lord. So if a bona fide listener, so the listener has to be bona fide, not just anybody without having full qualification to hear the amorous or conjugal pastimes of Krishna with the gopis, which seems to be lusty affairs. Actually, there is no lust in the pastimes of Krishna with the gopis. It's all love. There is a difference between lust and love. Lust means to my desire to enjoy my senses. And love means my desire to serve Krishna in a way that Krishna enjoys. So there's a shloka, Atmendriya Priti Cha Dhare Kamanam, Krishnendriya Priti Cha Dhare Premanam. So that is prem, when we want to please the senses of Krishna. So what happens when we hear a bona fide listener and a bona fide speaker also, is we'll hear from him Krishna's pastimes with the gopis. The lusty desires in our heart, they will be vanquished. And we have plenty of lusty desires. Not just lust which what we hear of in the common language, common terms. Lusty means Atmendriya Priticha, to satisfy my senses, and even the satisfaction of the sensual desires also, they go away. If one hears of the gopis' lusty behavior with Krishna, becomes free from lusty desires. Certainly the gopis who approached Krishna became free from all such desires, or they didn't have those desires. Similarly, Shishupal and others who were very much envious of Krishna and who constantly thought of Krishna became free from envy. Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda were fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness because of affection. When the mind is somehow or other fully absorbed in Krishna, the material part is very soon vanquished, and the spiritual part, attraction to Krishna, becomes manifest. This indirectly confirms that if one thinks of Krishna enviously, simply because of thinking of Krishna, he becomes free from all sinful reactions and thus becomes a pure devotee. Examples of this are given in the following verse. So somehow or other, we have to think of Krishna. Shishupal thought of him enviously, but he still became free from all sinful reactions because he got liberation. Gopya kamat bhayat kanso dveshat chaitya deo nripaha sambandhad vrishnaya sneha yuyam bhaktya vayam vibho. My dear King Yudhishthira, the gopis by their lusty desires, Kansa by his fear, Shishupal and other kings by envy, the Yadus by the familial relationship with Krishna, you Pandavas by your great affection for Krishna, and we the general devotees by our devotional service have obtained the mercy of Krishna. So Yuyam Bhaktya Vayam Vibho. And this is the humility of Narad Muni. See, Narad Muni, he is glorifying everybody. And for himself, he says, oh, we, the general devotees, we don't come under in any category. any special category. We're just general devotees. So by our devotional service, we obtain the mercy of Krishna. This is the beauty of bhakti. Different persons achieve different types of bhakti: sayujya, salokya, sarupya, samipya, and sarshti, according to their own intense desire, which is called bhava. Thus, it is described here that the gopis, by their lusty desires, which are based upon their intense love for Krishna, became the most beloved devotees of the Lord. Although the gopis at Vrindavan expressed their lusty desires in relationship with the Paramar, Parkiya Ras, they actually had no lusty desires. This is significant of spiritual advancement. Their desires appeared lusty. This is a word that is used by the acharyas. It appeared lusty, but actually they were not the lusty desires of the material world. Chaitanya Charitamrita compares the desires of the spiritual and material world to gold and iron. Both gold and iron are metal, but there is a vast difference in their value. The lusty desires of gopis for Krishna are compared to gold, and material lusty desires are compared to iron. So huge difference between the gopis' desires for Krishna and if somebody has material lusty desires. There is not even a tinge of lust in gopis' desires, because their desire was only to please Krishna. That's all. And who's Krishna? He's Atmaram. He's satisfied in himself. He doesn't need anybody. And to satisfy such a person, how spiritual one must have been. One has to be. Kansa and other enemies of Krishna merged into the existence of Brahman. But why should Krishna's friends and devotees have the same position? Krishna's devotees attain the association of the Lord as his constant companions, either in Vrindavan or in the Vaikuntha planets. Similarly, although Nanda Maharaj wanders in the three worlds, although Narad Muni wanders in the three worlds, he has exalted devotion for Narayan. The Vrishnis and Yadus and the father and mother of Krishna in Vrindavan all have familial relationships with Krishna. Krishna's foster father and mother in Vrindavan, however, are more exalted than Vasudeva and Devaki. So Krishna's foster father and mother, means Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maya, are more fortunate, more exalted. Actually, there was once I saw a beautiful play by Bhakti Marg Maharaj and his troupe. And his plays, they have a special feature that there are no dialogues in the play. Everything is a narration from the back by Maharaj himself, and he directs the plays, and all the actors act on the stage. And somehow by Krishna's arrangement, I happened to watch it. And he had portrayed Devaki and Vasudeva and Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maya. So, and very, very beautifully, very intelligently he portrayed. So one stage, so half the stage. So first he showed Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maya. So the lights were focused on that part. And in his plays, somehow, he likes everybody to wear black. Black pants, black t-shirts, that's it. Somehow he likes it. Anyway, so Nanda Baba, Yashoda Maya, in the beginning they were performing austerities because they didn't have a son. And they're sad, they don't have a son, and they're performing austerities for many, many years. And then the focus shifted to Devaki and Vasudev. And Devaki and Vasudev, they're getting married, and Kamsa is there. And then we know the story of this voice from the sky, and Kamsa tried to kill Devaki, and Vasudev somehow protected her. And Kamsa put them in the prison house, and now they are crying, and they had 6 sons who were killed by Kamsa. 7th was transferred to Vrindavan, Balramji, and then the 8th son was born, and Kamsa tried to kill, and Vasudevji took Krishna and brought him to Gokul, to the house of Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maiya. So he crosses a stage, half the stage, and then the light again focuses on Yashoda Nanda Baba, and then they had the baby Krishna, and Krishna grew up, and Krishna was having his pastimes, beautiful pastimes for 11 years, 10 years and 8 months to be exact. And then meanwhile, Devaki and Vasudeva were shown, and they were crying, and they were weeping, lamenting the loss of Krishna, or separation from Krishna. And then Krishna goes back to Mathura, from there to Dwarka, and he was with Vasudeva and Devaki, and now Nanda Baba and Yashoda Mai were crying. It was beautiful portrait, beautiful portrait of this whole scene. But how everybody was so attached to Krishna, they could not think of anybody else. Yes, Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maiya, they had the good fortune of having Krishna as a baby for 11 years. But then Krishna went back to Devaki and Vasudeva, and he was there for 114 years. In total, he was here for 125 years. So, who was more fortunate? It's hard to say, because the childhood pastimes were tasted by Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maiya, and youthful pastimes were relished by Devaki and Vasudeva. But this is his pastimes with his devotees. But these are the pastimes. This is where we want to be. Katmo api navena syat panjanam purusham prati tasmat kenapi upayena manah Krishna niveshayet. Somehow or other, one must consider the form of Krishna very seriously. Then, by one of the 5 different processes mentioned above, one can return home back to Godhead. Atheists like King Vena, however, being unable to think of Krishna's form in any of these 5 ways, cannot attain salvation. Therefore, one must somehow think of Krishna, whether in a friendly way or inimically. Impulseless and atheists always try to circumvent the form of Krishna. Great politicians and philosophers of the modern age even try to banish Krishna from the Gita. Consequently, for them, there is no salvation. But Krishna's enemies think, here is Krishna, my enemy, I have to kill him. They think of Krishna in his actual form, and thus they attain salvation. Devotees, therefore, constantly think of Krishna's form are certainly liberated. The only business of the Mayavadi atheists is to make Krishna formless, and consequently, because of this severe offense at the lotus feet of Krishna, we cannot expect salvation. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in this connection, Tena Shishupaladi Bhinna, means except for Shishupal, those who go against the regulative principles cannot attain salvation and are surely destined for hellish life. The regulative principle is that one must always think of Krishna, whether as a friend or an enemy. And in fact, Krishna has given us so many things to think of him. or everything should remind us of Krishna. He says in Bhagavad Gita, Rasam apsu konteya. I'm the taste of water. Here, water. I drink water. I should think of Krishna. And if we just look at water, what is it? 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen, somehow put together by Krishna in the form of huge, huge oceans. So the water is there. And this water is so important for our life. We cannot live without water. And this water Krishna has stored in the oceans. Now, he knew that the water in the ocean will get petrified, or it will get spoiled. So somehow it has to be preserved. Any water we keep in a tank, after a while it gets spoiled, it starts stinking. There's no preservative there. But Krishna created the best preservative. What did he do? He put salt in the ocean water. So the ocean water is salty, and that's how it is preserved. It doesn't get spoiled. But how do we use it? So sun is there. So because of sun, the vapors are formed, and it absorbs the water from the ocean and makes the clouds. Now, when it absorbs the water from the ocean, salt being heavy, salt remains in the ocean, only the pure water comes out. And now, this pure water from ocean has to be transported all the way to different parts of Earth. Now we can see in India, because of this corona problem, the oxygen has to be transported from wherever it is being manufactured to different parts of India, and how difficult it is. Every truck, I don't know how many metric tons one truck can hold, and then the trains are being employed, and this and that. Huge, huge task to deliver oxygen to different cities of India. Now, what does Krishna do? He has to transport the water from ocean to different cities, to all over the earth. So he makes the clouds. Now, clouds are what? Clouds carry these particles of water in the form. So those are the clouds are what? It's like water tanks with no walls, no bottom, no top. It's just a water tank. And the wind comes and wind carries these clouds to different places. So suppose from the ocean, wind carries a cloud to Delhi. All the way. And Krishna doesn't charge anything for all the transportation. And when it comes to Delhi, although there are no walls in that tank, nothing to protect it, but everything is protected. And when it comes to Delhi, the water is released. And we get fresh water. And everything is cleansed. The reservoirs are filled up, the lakes or the rivers, they are filled up. Lots of water goes to the Himalayas, where it falls and it becomes ice because it is so cold. So ice, what does it do? So throughout the year, the ice keeps on melting and sending water through the rivers for everybody's maintenance. So we can think of Krishna this way. See how wonderful arrangements he has made. And everything that we have, everything that we see is because of Krishna. We've been reading that in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, everything. So everything should remind us of Krishna. Even if we can't think of the beautiful Shyam Sundar form of Krishna. But everything should remind us of Krishna, and that way when we start looking, then slowly, we can see Krishna's hands everywhere. For the taste of water, Prabhupada even said, even if a person who is addicted to drinking, if he thinks this liquor that I'm drinking, the taste is Krishna, he will also get purified. Because ultimately, the taste is Krishna. So somehow we have to always think of Krishna. So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, can you once again explain the Sayujya Mukti which is given to demons?
Sayujya Mukti here. But there are two Sayujya Muktis. One is merging in Brahmjyoti, one merging in the body of Krishna. So demons get to merge in the body of Krishna. From there means no more birth again.
So, Prabhuji, in that Mukti, demons are able to serve God or not?
No. They're just gone in the body of Krishna. That's it. There's no service.
And they don't return back at all then? Never?
No. Shishupal and Dantavakra were different case. They merged in the body of Krishna, but then they came out because they were Jay and Vijay. But other demons who get killed, they don't come out. So that's not a very good way of dying or living also.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, it's okay.
Okay. So I guess we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.